that was a Lakshana Geet in Rag Bihag. It was a composition that was in the Rag Bihag about Rag Bihag. That is, it described the Rag Bihag in terms of its aroha, avaroha, vadi, samvadi, and the time that is assigned to the raga. Now, Lakshana, in general, it means features, it means characteristics. So, Raga-Lakshana means the features of the raga. And we standardly describe Raga-Lakshana in terms of the aroha, avaroha, vadi, samvadi, graha, nyasa, all the aspects that we covered in the previous videos, whether the swaras are shuddha or komal, and definitely the time of the day or night that the raga is supposed to be performed in. It also includes typically the thought or the parent scale. Now, we haven't looked at this yet, in which we will be doing that very soon. So, this is Raga-Lakshana. Is a very standard way of describing any raga. And Lakshana Geet, one of which you heard just now in Bihag, these are a fascinating set of compositions that incorporate the Raga-Lakshanas in the same raga in which the composition is set. So, we have a tradition of describing the Lakshanas of a rag, not just in a composition, but also in textual, in the textual tradition, which is typically in verse. So, for example, we have this Lakshana of the same rag, Bihag, in verse. It is in Sanskrit. Vihanga iha giyate ma mriduhu anyati vrasvaro ridhau tyajati rohane sprishati cha avarohe punah tatha nigaditau gani ruchira vadi samvadino nishitha samaye sada shruti manoharam giyate. So, this is from Raga Kalpa Dhrumankura, which is a 20th century text written in Sanskrit by one Appa Tulasi. And the Lakshana, the verse means this, right? Vihanga iha giyate. Vihanga is the older name for the rag Bihag. Vihanga iha giyate ma mriduhu anya tivra swaru. So, ma is mridu, that is its komal, or it is in our terminology we will say it is shuddha. That is, it is not the higher ma, it is the mridu ma. Anya tivra swaru. The others are, the rest of the swaras are tivra, that is they are the sharper note. Ridhau tyajati. Ri and dha are tyajati rohane. They are discarded in the arohana. Sprishati cha avarohe punah. And in the avaroha it is only just touched. Sprishati. Tatha nigaditau gani. Ruchira vadi samvadino. And gani are vadi and samvadi. And nishitha samaye sada. So, and it is sung at night. This is how there is a tradition of describing the Raga-Lakshana in verse. This such descriptions of ragas in terms of Raga-Lakshana, this kind of description has its limits. Now, even if we included every aspect of the raga that we have discussed so far, right, in terms of ornament, what kind of ornaments have to be used, what are the important phrases, graha, nyasa, etc. Basically, we create an extensive list of the features of the raga. Now, is that enough? Is that enough of a blueprint for, say, a musician to perform it? Even a seasoned musician? The answer is no. There are simply too many subtle aspects of ragas that they simply defy exhaustive description. Even seasoned musicians would hesitate to try to perform a raga which they have not learnt from their teacher. Even though the raga might be performed by others, you might have heard it many times, but still, if you haven't received the raga from your teacher, you would be unwilling to perform it. See, this is not just a matter of decorum or propriety. It's just that ragas have many areas of slippery territory. Not only what is a raga, but what it is not. That is also very important, which is where a master, a guru, is very important. He or she will guide you there, offer you insights there. You see, we only have 12 swaras, right? And we have at least 100 or 150 very popularly, widely performed ragas, and many more ragas that are less visible. So, necessarily, ragas will share tonal material. What the differences? Where are the differences? The differences lie in these subtleties, which a master, a guru, can guide us through. See, senior musicians and gurus of Hindustani music are addressed as pandits or ustad, which really means a repository of knowledge. So, gurus are a repository of knowledge of the ragas, the subtleties of ragas. Now, and even after receiving this knowledge from such a guru about ragas, it's still a long journey. S.K. Saxena, a philosopher and a well-known writer on the aesthetics of Hindustani music, says this, I quote, "Raga is neither a mere arrangement of aroha and avaroha, or of vadi and samvadi, nor a skeletal fixture to which the music must merely conform, but a rich and integrated wholeness of implicit depth, roominess, repose and vitality. That is why our master musicians speak of a raga's personality." So how does one absorb this personality? It is a lifelong task, discovering the identity of a raga, its secrets, its many beautiful nooks and crannies. It is a lifelong journey. For example, there is this lovely, astonishing insight into the Rag Shri that Ustad Bade Ghulam Ali Khan refers to. He shares in an interview. The link to the interview is given below, but I'll play a very short clip from this interview where he refers to the microtonal nuancing of the ga, of the gandhar in Rag Shri. Now, if you remember, I did mention that Rag Shri has a slightly raised komal rishabh. The re has a microtonal nuancing, in which it is slightly raised over the standard komal re. But here that is well known. It's a well known feature about Rag Shri. But here the Ustad is referring to the microtonal nuancing of the ga. He says, he is speaking in Hindi, and though some of you may not understand the language, but the music needs no translation. He says that the ga of Shri, it is Shuddha Gandhar, that is what it is. We say that Rag Shri has Shuddha Gandhar, but it is not the standard Shuddha Gandhar.
जैसे श्री राग में गंधार अब तो सही लगता है, मा बा नी दा दा ने दा बा मा बा दा बा गा ले दा, ये करते। माँ उस का सीवर गंधार भी पूरा नहीं है, ma ba ga ba ga re sa, ये भी नहीं, ma ba ga ba ga re pa re ga re sa, ना इस तरफ गंधार कोमल हुआ ना उस तरफ गंधार तीव्र हुआ.
So we perform, the world of performance incorporates all these microtonal nuancing, and sometimes we are not even aware of them, and we discover them as we journey in this world. So how is raga taught? How is any raga taught? It is a complex process, like any other art or craft in this country. The traditional way of teaching this music was through a residence at the teacher's house. This is the well-known Gurukula Vasa, right? Yeah. Which generates the Gurukula Vasa, which means you live with the Guru's family, and this generates the Guru Shishya Parampara, the very another extremely well-known expression, well-known phenomenon. So Guru Shishya Parampara is the lineage of a student and teacher, which is generated because of this relationship between student and teacher. The student living as part of the Guru's household. Now, what is the advantage of such an arrangement? You see, under the system, the student lived with the teacher and he observed every aspect of a musician's life. Most importantly, of course, how the Guru practiced. So by simply listening to the practice of the practice sessions of the Guru, or how he taught other students, whether more senior or less, everything went into the student's education. It's part of the student's education. So much is absorbed at the non-discursive level. Even when actual teaching happened between the Guru and Shishya, the Guru taught, whenever the Guru taught the Shishya, it's traditionally, it was not through grammar, teaching the student this is the grammar of the raga. No, that is not the traditional way at all. The Guru would sing and the student had to listen and faithfully reproduce. Listening, that's the main thing. So as much as we say that this tradition is oral, right, it's also important that we realize that it is oral, right. The Guru, of course, gives oral instructions. The student listens to the music itself. So that's the way traditionally that this music is taught, not by talking about ragas. In fine tuning the understanding of a raga, definitely lakshanas, features of the raga might be discussed, but at the preliminary level, you don't talk about the raga, you sing it, you listen to it, and then you reproduce it. Now, learning a raga is in many ways like learning a language. Now, how do you learn a new language? If you seek to approach through its grammar, the progress is going to be tedious, and it's very likely that it will be a very long time before you understand the nuances of the language, the way the language works enough to get all its aspects, especially jokes and poetry, which rely so much upon non-literal expression. Sometimes even defying grammar. You can't get all those if you're going to approach a language through its grammar. The best way to learn a language is to live amidst native speakers of the language. So also the best way to learn a raga is simply to listen to it performed by those who have a mastery over it. So also Raga-Lakshanas are useful. Of course they are important, and gurus do talk about them, but that is not the primary way of teaching music, teaching a rag. That is simply not the primary way. Because you see, the truth is ultimately there is a certain deceptiveness about these rules, just as in language. Effective communication is not assured by strict adherence to grammar, in language. And sometimes flouting a grammar rule can really convey a subtle idea or a joke more effectively. So also the world of ragas is a world of lakshanas. Definitely there is grammar, there is rule, there are rules. It is a shastra, but in the final analysis it is the artistry that rules. One learns the shastra to ultimately transcend them and feel free even while working within the shastras. It is the centrality of the artistic aspect that makes the world of ragas a dynamic one. It's a world that is in flux. It is not unchanging. Ragas evolve, they change. Old ragas assume slightly, subtly newer ways. They even disappear. Newer ragas appear and then get established, and so on. So if the world of ragas was a kind of a tyranny of rules, then ragas would have atrophied. It wouldn't be a live, vibrant system that it is today. Now how about notation in teaching raga? Notation, traditionally it was simply not used. These days it is used, but at a very rudimentary level. For most ornaments we don't have notation symbols. And the notation only captures the skeleton of the melody or the composition. So, if you were to be presented with the notation of a composition, for example, you would need to know the raga in order to be able to perform that composition based on the notation. You need to know the raga, you need to know its chalan, how it moves. So notation is really used as a tool to remember, as a reference. It is never something on the basis of which one can actually make music. That is simply not possible, and it's not used that way. Currently the most popular notation system that is used is one devised by Pandit Vishnu Narayan Bhatkande. We will discuss his work later in the course, but this notation system is simple and effective as a tool of reference. Melody, time and text of a composition are captured in a very skeletal level in the system. Now, what is it like to perform a raga? When there are so many rules, where is the art? Where is the artistry? For a beginner, no doubt performing a raga is a daunting task. There are so many considerations. You have to take care of so many things. Tunefulness, grammar, right? And what swaras are allowed, what are not allowed, not allowing shades of other ragas to come in, and so on. It is quite difficult. In fact, one Western musicologist has even commented that performing a raga is really a task of keeping out other ragas. So let us say when you are singing maybe Rag Marva, what you are doing is keeping out the other ragas, especially ragas like Puriya and Sohini, with which it shares tonal material. Again, you see, for a beginner this may be true, right? When you are setting out, you are very concerned that other ragas, the shades of other ragas, chaya we say, none, it should not come in. It should not come in so as to destroy the raga that you are trying to perform. That is at the beginning, at a beginner's level. But as you get seasoned, as you get maturity, then you are, when you are performing a raga, you are performing the raga. You are not, obsessed with the idea that you have to keep out other ragas. And that happens, that will happen. There is such a thing as being with the raga, being absorbed in it, so that other ragas are thereby simply kept out. So when a master performs marva, he is performing marva, not purya. So otherwise, you see, performing a raga would be a petrifying task. You would be petrified that I'll make a mistake, or some other raga will come, or I'll hit a wrong note or something like that, or maybe the ornament is wrong or the phrase is wrong. That is not it. Performing a raga is a joyous experience once you have gained a certain level of maturity. When a master performs a raga, she enters it and moves within it confidently and cajoles it to show its beauties. And there is no petrification then. Here you talk about lakshanas. Raga-Lakshana is important, but there is also the other thing called lakshya. Right? So we have lakshana, which of course refers to the features of the raga, the rules. We also have lakshya, which is the goal or outcome. So there comes a stage always when you stop obsessing over the lakshanas and you are able to focus on the lakshya, that is the outcome. That is the raga that you are performing, to bring out that raga. So a master is in a way transcends lakshanas and is guided by the lakshya, which is the goal here in this case is ultimately ranjakatva, or a certain kind of pleasure. In fact, the very word raga derives from the root ranja, which means to color, to please, to evoke passion. And so that is the meaning of the word raga. So ultimately the performance of raga is about this ranjakatva. But now other music also offers pleasure, right? But here in Raga Sangeet you also have, it is not just a sensual pleasure which any music will offer. So it's very pleasing to the senses, right? All music is pleasing to the senses. But in the case of Raga Sangeet, Raga music, there is the additional level of contemplation. It is and also a cognition of seeing that the raga is brought out effectively. So because it is so challenging, it is improvised. First of all, there is a lot of improvisation in Hindustani music. So that itself is a big challenge. And it involves so many elements, right? You have so many things that need to be taken care of. So it is a feat when it all comes together and everything falls in place. There is a metaphor in one of the works of Abhinavagupta, the 10th century Kashmiri aesthetician. He says that when the elements of a theatre of a theatrical presentation. No, theatrical presentation has so many more elements than just a musical performance. Music itself is a part of theatre. So when everything, you see, there is the flaming torch, right? And if you were to swirl it, there are various positions that it occupies. But then when it gets into a certain rhythm, you are not able to see the individual positions, but it all comes together in a circle of fire. That is how the elements of a performance should come together, so that they are not visible, they are not experienced separately as various elements. It all falls in place. This the word for this is alata chakra. That is what that's a metaphor he uses. And this is really what we speak of as ranga. Ranga is really just color, but it is a color that suffuses the mind, right? It's color that is sheer joy, and this is the goal of raga performance. But like in any other art, even the most technically perfect or brilliantly virtuosic performance might sometimes simply not have it. The creation of rang is not in anyone's hands. Even after rigorous training under a master, which may give you a lot of knowledge, you may be a very knowledgeable musician, but you may not be able to evoke the rang. That is a different deal altogether. But that is really what we all seek in this world. So, as I said, it has to do with the feeling of everything falling in place and coming together with the right amount, with the right proportion, and its appropriateness above all. And I mean, it's hard to put in words, but we know it when we experience it. And certainly it cannot be taught by any means. Even the greatest teacher to the most ardent student, this is not something that can be transmitted. Pandit Nikhil Banerjee was one of the greatest musicians of the 20th century. He was a sitar player, and he has a devout following even today. He says this, that I'm quoting him. This is from an interview. It is a belief, it's a very controversial thing. In this 20th century, you may not accept it, but you cannot create this music. Something comes from maybe within or from outside. That creates it. If you say, now I'm creating, then do it now. Each time, can you do it? No, you cannot do it each time. So here, Pandit Banerjee is really talking about the elusiveness of this rang. It doesn't happen to everyone all the time. Now this is why in the tradition we talk of Raga Devata, that there are the gods of every raga has a deity, and that deity must grace the performance. We also talk of the Ranga Devata, the gods of the stage. So it is all this just indicates that it's ultimately beyond the power of mortals. It's not something that we can contrive and just will to happen. Tradition also speaks of Raga Bhava at a less divine level. Dr. Mukund Lat, who was a leading musicologist, philosopher, he says this: Raga Bhava is a term in use for the felt identity of a raga. A raga without raga bhava is believed to be only the shadow of the raga. This raga bhava is something that transcends the music in its physical aspect and also its grammatical and presentational aspect. But ultimately that is the base, the mastering the grammar. That is absolutely indispensable. That is the base, the Shastra. Once you master the Shastra, then the artist might be able to take wings and fly. So this composition, this is a very, very well known Khayal composition. It was originally a Drupad composition, but it was then repurposed and we sing it in the Khayal tradition. This describes the Raga Vidya, the knowledge system that ragas are. And he says, the composer says, सुर संगत राग विद्या संगीत प्रमाण को जो कंठ कर दिखाए वाको जानिए गुनी ज्ञानी. A person who has internalized, who has learnt the raga vidya and who has it in his kantha, in his throat, that person you call guni or jnani. Now, guni is an expression that is found very often in many compositions, and it's one of those untranslatable words. Guna means quality, virtue. So a person who has talent, who has the capacity to persevere and pursue this vidya, this art, that person is a guni.